Tonight, Canada bans TikTok use on government devices, along with the US and European Union. China slams the decision, calling it abuse of state powers. And Twitter is suspending accounts of key activists supporting the Palestinian cause. The social media giant cites hacking as the reason. The accounts are restored, sometimes after as long as a month. A display in an art gallery in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island is turning heads. Sobia Ali Faisal describes the exhibit devoted to BIPOC athletes on the island.
Myself, Bianca, and then the Canada Games, as well as the Confederation Center Art Gallery where it's displayed, we worked in partnership to create this particular this exhibit.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I am Catherine Bullock. As of today, Canada has banned TikTok from all government devices for security reasons, and it could be the start of a further crackdown, according to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Global Affairs Canada sent an email advising employees that the video sharing platform app is now banned following a review by the country's chief information officer. TikTok is owned by Beijing's ByteDance technology company, and concerns arose over the parent firm allowing the Chinese government to access TikTok's personal user information. The European Commission and European Council have banned the app. The majority of US federal workers are also banned from having the app on their government phones. China has slammed the decision. Social media experts are expressing concern that the voices of Palestinian journalists, academics, lawyers, and human rights advocates are muzzled on various platforms. This comes after two recent incidents where Palestinians' Twitter accounts were suspended until public outrage had them reinstated. Syed, a renowned Palestinian journalist's Twitter account, was suspended on December 3rd and restored a month later. Arakat is based in Washington, D.C., and is the bureau chief for the Palestinian daily Al-Quds. The newspaper is one of the most read in the Palestinian region. Twitter's only explanation was that his account was hacked. On top of that, Facebook deleted the Al-Quds page, which has around 10 million followers. It was reinstated 2 days later. Noura Erakat, a Palestinian advocate, lawyer, and human rights activist, also had her Twitter account suspended on January 8th for 1 day. Her suspension was taken up by prominent activists. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met yesterday with Muslim leaders to discuss Islamophobia. Trudeau later tweeted a picture of the meeting, stating that Islamophobia has no place in our country. The meeting was attended by prominent Muslim leaders, including Stephen Brown and Imam Hamid Slimi. Later, the National Council of Canadian Muslims tweeted, appreciating the gesture by the PM. Rights groups are reacting with dismay to the UK's Supreme Court decision Friday not to allow a woman to return to the country to challenge the government's stripping of her citizenship in 2019. Saamiyah Begum had left the UK in 2015 to join ISIS. In an unanimous decision, the judges ruled a right to a fair hearing did not override considerations such as public safety. The advocacy groups say Begum should answer for any crimes in her home country. They say stripping someone of their citizenship sets a dangerous precedent. Begum, now 21 years old, is residing in a camp in North Syria. The Frederick S. and Ogden Martin Concourse Gallery in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, has a new exhibit titled It's More Than Sports, a celebration of BIPOC athletes on Prince Edward Island. To tell us about the exhibit, we are joined now by the Executive Director of BIPOC Usher, Sobia Ali Faisal. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. So I pretend we're walking through the doors of the gallery. What's it going to look like, this exhibit?
Well, we have 6 cases. It's like it's a great spot because it's a lot of traffic goes through this particular part of the gallery. There are 6 cases, 2 cases dedicated to BIPOC athletes from the past, 2 cases dedicated to BIPOC athletes who are currently playing on PEI, and 2 cases dedicated to thinking about the future of sports and BIPOC athletes on PEI. And it has the display cases, sorry, have pictures and artifacts for the first two for the history part. For current athletes, we had a local Mi'kmaq photographer who does amazing work, Patricia Bork. She took pictures of 10 athletes, and so their pictures are displayed in those 2 middle cases. And then the final 2 cases, one has drawings made by BIPOC children. We asked them to answer the question, what does sports mean to you? And so they drew pictures for us. And the final case has a vision statement, thinking about the future.
Oh, what a wonderful exhibit. Hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about all of those segments. Just to clarify, when you say case, do you mean like those big glass squares
Yes.
that would stand in the middle of something so you can walk around it and look
Uh,
at
they're up against the wall, so
oh,
you can see it from like they're on the wall, yes.
mm.
But they are big glass cases.
And they're athletes. And tell us about the athletes. What kind of sports have been covered?
So for when we're looking at the athletes from the past, especially athletes from like the late 1800s, early 1900s, there were some Black and Indigenous athletes, and most of them were either in boxing or running for the most part. So those are the main sports covered there. When we're thinking about athletes from like the 80s, 90s, 2000s, there's tennis, there's basketball, there's hockey, there's soccer, so many different sports. Currently, for current athletes, same thing: hockey, soccer, wrestling, taekwondo, running. So it's a whole spread of different types of sports, not just the ones covered over in winter games, or what would be considered winter sports, but really sports that you can play around the year.
And your organization, which I forgot to explain what the USHR is, I believe is one of the originators of this exhibit. So can you tell us what USHR stands for, and then you can explain how you got involved?
Sure. So USHR stands for United for Strength, Home, and Relationship. And we were actually invited by the Canada Games to do some sort of project. We weren't sure what it would be at first, but they invited us. And one of our volunteers, Bianca Garcia, she came up with this idea of doing this particular exhibit. So myself, Bianca, and then the Canada Games, as well as the Confederation Center Art Gallery where it's displayed, we worked in partnership to create this particular this exhibit. Bianca was the one who curated it; she managed it, but we worked on collaboration.
And what's so sort of special about focusing on athletes? That might sound like a bit of a dumb question, but can you just sort of explain what the role of athleticism in society is, or something why we would want to focus on it?
Um, well, actually, one of the participants, so our vision statement that we had, it was created by through conversation with some athletes who play here, BIPOC athletes who are living on PEI, and I think their explanation really gets at it really well. So one of the athletes said that sports for them is more than sports. It's culture, it's community, it's caring, it's creating those networks and those supportive relationships with others. So it's not simply just about playing a sport or being athletic, but it's really about creating community. And then if we're thinking about a place like PEI where racialized people are such a minority, it's a really great way for Black, Indigenous, and people of color on PEI to create community with others from the similar backgrounds. So it really is about more than sports, and that's actually the title of the exhibit is "It's More Than Sports" because it creates community.
I know that in Australia, where I'm originally from, there's an emphasis on sports as a way to bring people together from different ethnic groups and different racial backgrounds. So I'm guessing that that's what you kind of meant there. And do the athletes talk about a lot of racism that they've experienced and have managed to transcend in their sport?
There has been, I think, certain athletes probably experience it more. So, for example, one of the young athletes who was participating in our creating our vision statement, he's a young Black man, and he plays soccer. And he said, you know, when we play, sometimes we're very passionate about this. Again, this is about community. This is about really connecting with others, and we're very passionate about this sport. And sometimes when they're playing here locally with a local population, people misread that passion. And then again, of course, there's that trope, unfortunately, anti-Black trope around Black people being aggressive. And so that trope gets comes into play, and they will often experience racism on the field. But what they also said is that it's still the majority of their experiences have been relatively positive, and it still is a great way for them to even integrate or connect with people from PEI as well.
And do you have any stats on how many are there any Muslims athletes playing there on PEI? Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, there's a few. We have a few featured in our exhibit as well. There's one young man who plays soccer, Mohammed. He plays for Holland College, which is our local college here. And then we also have Feiruz Gabala featured as well, and she's a runner. She's with UPEI. She actually plays or runs in hijab as well. Her sister does taekwondo, and we have her featured as well. So yes, absolutely. We have many Muslim athletes here as well, especially in those sports of soccer and running and martial arts.
But let's talk about the case where you mentioned the future, where you had the children rights statements. Tell us what that case looked like, and what the children did.
So we had them draw some pictures for us, and there was an age range. So we had everywhere from 5-year-olds to teenagers. And what we asked them to do was to answer the question, what does sports mean to you? Um, and what was interesting was we didn't really tell them much about anything else. We didn't say you have to have, just pick certain values or whatnot. But what was interesting was that in the pictures, in the end, the values that we espouse as an organization of compassion, care, collectivism, um, and cooperation was depicted in those pictures on their own. So, for example, one picture was two teams that had the same score. They're playing, they're playing a game, and they have the same score, and they're like high fiving each other, so that they're actually, happy for each other's wins and supporting each other. So that was really interesting to me that these children actually in their pictures drew those very values of caring, compassion, and cooperation into their drawings.
That is
That
beautiful.
is beautiful. Mm.
I think team sports may be the idea of cooperation, but what about individual athletes who are running or playing tennis, or they're very, very solo? How does that value come through?
I think for them, for example, Mohammed, he plays soccer, but one of the things that he talked about, and there was another athlete, a young athlete who was a wrestler, and they both talk about being an inspiration for others, right? So they may, even if they play something solo like wrestling, they talk about how their presence in the sport, they hope, will open it up to others who look like them, who are similar backgrounds, other racialized young people. So to create that sense of safety for them, but also to hopefully inspire others to join the same sport.
Have you been present in the concourse and watched people walking past the cases, or have you been there and seen the athletes themselves who are featured? How are people reacting?
People really seem to be enjoying it. People are paying attention. They're reading the stories of the athletes. One of the one piece of feedback that we got recently was that people didn't know about the athletes from the past, from the 1800s, 1900s. They didn't realize that there were Black and Indigenous athletes here. After seeing the display and after reading a little bit about the athletes, they went home and did some more homework, and they found out that there was a vibrant Black community in PEI in like the 1800s. And so through our display, it was really interesting that people were able to learn something about PEI history that wasn't just related to athletics, but it was almost like a doorway into that into that time in PEI history. So we've been getting a lot of great feedback, even just from for the photography. Again, Patricia Bork, as I mentioned before, was the photographer we brought on to take the pictures of the athletes for today. And her pictures are getting like they're really stunning, and they're getting a lot of great feedback.
Well, it sounds fantastic. I wish I was in PEI and I could come and visit, but we're out of time today. Thanks for joining us.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. If you like what we do, please share, like, and subscribe. Stay safe and God bless.